The lights flickered red across Kepler Station. Emergency alarms screamed through every corridor, every room, every hiding place where people pressed themselves against walls and prayed they would live another hour. Commander Tejo ran down the main corridor, his boots making sharp sounds on the metal floor. Behind him, two of his security officers tried to keep up. All three of them carried the biggest weapons they could find. All three of them knew the weapons would not help. "Sir, we lost contact with level 7, one officer said between heavy breaths. "That makes 12 levels now." Tejo stopped running and turned to face his men. His blue skin had turned pale with fear, but his 4 eyes stayed focused. The Cathari were known across the galaxy as brave warriors. Today that meant nothing. "How many people were on level 7? He asked. "About 300, sir." Tejo closed his eyes. 300 more souls fed to the beast that hunted in the darkness below. In 3 days, the creature had killed over 2,000 beings. The lucky ones died fast. The beast had a name. Everyone in the galaxy knew it, whispered it in fear around campfires and in the safety of their homes. Voidstalker. A monster from the death world called Nightmare's Edge, where nothing good had ever lived. It should never have been on Kepler Station. The creature was being moved from one research facility to another when something went wrong. The transport ship's captain said the containment unit just failed. No reason, no warning. One moment the beast was locked away safely. The next moment, it was free. That was 3 days ago. Tejo's communication device made a sound. He pressed a button and heard Dr. Hana's voice tight with worry. "Commander, I need to speak with you now. In the command center." "On my way," Tejo replied. He found Dr. Hana standing in front of a large screen showing the station's layout. Red dots marked where the beast had been spotted. The pattern made Tejo's heart sink. The creature was moving up, level by level, hunting everything in its path. Dr. Hana was a Zephyrian, tall and thin with silver skin that shimmered in the light. Her people were known for their knowledge of dangerous creatures. If anyone could find a way to stop this beast, it would be her. "Tell me you have good news," Tejo said. Hana shook her head. "I have been studying this creature for 20 years. I have read every report, every story, every legend about Voidstalkers. Commander, nothing we have tried should have failed this badly." She pointed at the screen. "We hit it with plasma cannons that could melt through a battleship's armor. The beast healed in minutes. We used neural disruptors that should have scrambled its brain. It got angry and killed 6 more people. We even tried the ancient psionic techniques from the old wars. The creature ate the psychic energy and grew stronger." Tejo stared at the red dots on the screen. Each one marked a place where good people had died horrible deaths. "What are we fighting, Doctor?" "A perfect killer," Hana said quietly. "Voidstalkers are 12 feet tall and covered in black armor that grows from their bodies. They have claws that can cut through steel like paper. They can heal from almost any wound. Their screams can drive most beings insane. And worst of all, they get stronger by feeding on fear and pain." She turned to face him. "Commander, in all the galaxy's history, no one has ever successfully killed a fully grown Voidstalker. The best we can do is contain them." "Then how do we contain this one?" "We don't, it's too late for that." The communication system crackled to life. A voice filled with terror spoke from level 9. "Command center, this is security team 4. "The beast, oh gods, it's here, it's right here, everyone run, run!" The voice cut off. After a moment of static, they heard something else. A sound like metal tearing apart, then screaming, then silence. Tejo looked at the display. Level 9 had just gone dark. "How many levels between us and that thing?" he asked. 4, Hana replied. "Maybe 5 if it gets distracted." "How long do we have?" "At the rate it's moving? 6 hours, maybe less." Tejo activated the station-wide communication system. His voice echoed through every remaining safe area on Kepler Station. "All civilians, this is Commander Tejo. Begin immediate evacuation to the upper levels. All security personnel, fall back to defensive positions around the command center. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." As people ran through the corridors above them, Tejo and Hana watched the display screen. The red dots were moving again. The beast was climbing higher, following the scent of fear that led it toward fresh prey. Doctor, in all your research, did you ever find anything that could stop one of these creatures? Hana was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was very soft. There are old stories. Very old. From before most of our civilizations learned to travel between stars. The stories say that once, long ago, some beings knew how to communicate with void stalkers. Not fight them, not contain them. Actually speak to them. Speak to them. You mean they're intelligent? The stories suggest they might be. But Commander, these are just legends. Stories told around fires by primitive peoples who probably never saw a real void stalker. Even if the stories were true, the knowledge has been lost for thousands of years. Another alarm started ringing. Level 8 had gone silent. Tejo watched the evacuation ships leaving the station through the big windows of the command center. Hundreds of vessels carried tens of thousands of beings to safety in space. But not everyone could leave. Someone had to stay and fight. Someone had to buy time for the last ships to escape. Doctor, how many people are still on the station? About 800 in the upper levels. Maybe 150 who refuse to leave. Refuse to leave? Some people have nowhere else to go, Commander. Others are too stubborn to run. And a few... She paused. A few what? A few think they can help somehow. Tejo almost laughed, but there was no humor left in him. Help? Against that thing? As if in answer to his question, the lights flickered again. Somewhere below them, metal screamed as claws tore through steel walls. The beast was getting closer. In 6 hours, maybe less, everything would be over. Tejo looked at the people working frantically around the command center. Good beings, all of them. Brave beings who had stayed behind to fight an unwinnable battle. The red dots on the screen moved higher. The beast was coming. The rescue ships arrived like falling stars. 3 vessels, each one representing the most powerful military forces in the known galaxy. Their hulls gleamed with advanced armor and weapons that could destroy entire planets. Commander Tejo watched from the command center as the ships docked with Kepler Station. For the first time in days, he felt something that might have been hope. The flame wardens have arrived, Dr. Hana announced, reading from her scanner. 20 of them, led by War Captain Korith himself. Tejo nodded. Everyone knew about the flame wardens. The draconic warriors of the Imperium had conquered half the galaxy with nothing but their claws, their fire, and their endless courage. If anyone could face a void stalker and win, it would be them. The Crystalline Collective has sent their best psychic warriors too, Hana continued, and the Nexus Corporation deployed 3 combat units, the advanced ones with adaptive weapons. Through the station's communication system, they heard the new arrivals coordinating their assault. War Captain Korith's voice boomed through the speakers, deep and confident. All forces, this is Korith. We have faced worse than this beast. Today we end its reign of terror, for the glory of the Imperium. The Flame Wardens moved first. 20 draconic warriors, each one 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor that sparkled red and gold. They carried plasma weapons that burned hot enough to melt steel. Their eyes glowed with inner fire, and when they roared, the sound shook the station's walls. Tejo watched the display screens as the warriors descended toward level 5, where the beast had last been seen. The thermal sensors showed their heat signatures moving in perfect formation, disciplined and deadly. Contact in 30 seconds, Korith reported. All units, weapons ready. The collision happened faster than anyone expected. One moment, the Flame Wardens were moving down a corridor in perfect order. The next moment, chaos erupted across every screen. The beast struck like black lightning. 12 feet of living nightmare, covered in armor that seemed to absorb light itself. Its claws, each one as long as a sword, sliced through the air with terrible precision. Korith met the creature head-on, breathing a stream of plasma fire hot enough to cut through a battleship's hull. The flames washed over the Void Stalkers, black armor, and did nothing. Absolutely nothing. Impossible, Hana whispered. The beast grabbed Korith with one massive hand and lifted the draconic warrior off his feet. Even through the static-filled communications, everyone in the command center heard the war captain's bones breaking. The other flame wardens attacked together, surrounding the creature with plasma fire and energy weapons. For a moment, it looked like they might succeed through sheer numbers. The beast stumbled, roared in what might have been pain, and fell to one knee. Then it started laughing. The sound came through the speakers like broken glass and screaming metal. The Voidstalker rose to its feet, Korath's broken body still in its grasp, and began to hunt the remaining warriors. It moved faster than anything that size should move. The Flame Wardens were skilled fighters, veterans of 100 wars, but they died like children. One by one, the thermal signatures on Taiho's screen went dark. All Flame Warden units report. Taiho called into his communicator. Only silence answered him. The Crystalline Collective's warriors tried next. Unlike the direct assault of the dragons, the crystal beings used subtlety and psychic power. They were beautiful creatures, made of living crystal that rang like bells when they moved. Their minds could reach across space and manipulate matter with pure thought. Crystal singer Velthara led them. She was ancient even by her people's standards, her crystal body showing the deep blue of centuries of accumulated wisdom. She had fought in the psychic wars and won battles by convincing enemy fleets to surrender without firing a shot. The creature's mind is unusual, she reported as her team approached the beast's new location. It thinks in patterns we do not recognize, but all minds can be broken given enough pressure. The psychic assault began on level 4. Even through the stations, shielding, everyone in the command center felt it. A pressure in their skulls, a ringing in their ears, a sense that reality itself was being twisted and reshaped. The Voidstalker's roar changed. For the first time, it sounded like it might actually be in pain. The Crystal Warriors pressed their attack, pouring centuries of psychic knowledge into breaking the creature's mind. For 10 minutes, it seemed to work. The beast stumbled through corridors, clawing at its own head, making sounds that were almost pitiful. The psychic pressure grew stronger and stronger until several beings in the command center had to be taken to medical. Then, suddenly, the pressure stopped. Crystal singer Velthara, please respond. Taiho called. A new voice answered. Not Velthara, but one of her warriors, speaking in the crystal being's musical language. The translation came through broken and scared. She tried to enter its mind completely, to take control. But something was waiting for her. Something hungry. It ate her thoughts. All of them. The creature is stronger now. We can feel it growing. Oh, ancestors, we can feel it in our minds. The communication cut off. 3 levels below, the Voidstalker had claimed its second group of hunters. The combat units moved in last. These were not living beings but machines, built by the Nexus Corporation, to hunt the galaxy's most dangerous predators. Each unit was a masterpiece of artificial intelligence and adaptive technology, capable of analyzing any threat and developing countermeasures in real time. Combat Unit Omega-7 led the assault. Its mechanical voice filled the command center. Threat analysis complete. Target shows resistance to thermal, psychic, and conventional energy weapons, adapting to kinetic and exotic matter approaches. Victory probability, 67%. Taiho almost smiled. Finally, someone who sounded confident. The combat units engaged the beast on level 3. Their weapons changed continuously during the fight, adapting to each failed attack. When plasma rounds proved useless, they switched to particle beams. When those failed, they tried gravity weapons that could crush diamond into dust. For an hour, the battle raged through the lower levels. The combat unit's adaptive programming allowed them to stay ahead of the creature's attacks, always finding new ways to hurt it even as it learned to counter their previous weapons. Victory probability now, 43%, Omega-7 reported. Target shows unprecedented learning capacity, adapting countermeasures faster than projected. 20 minutes later, victory probability, 21%. Requesting immediate backup. 10 minutes after that, victory probability, 7%. Target has learned to predict our adaptations. It is adapting to our adaptations. The final transmission from Omega-7 came 5 minutes before the combat units went silent. Warning, Target is not simply learning our tactics. It is learning how we think, how we make decisions. It understands our programming better than we do. This is impossible. This should be impossible. When the silence stretched too long, Tejo sent a reconnaissance drone to investigate. The images it sent back made everyone in the command center sick. The combat units were scattered across 3 corridors, torn apart with surgical precision. But this was not the random destruction the beast had shown before. The machines had been dissected, their components carefully separated and arranged in neat piles. The creature had not just defeated them, it had studied them. "How many levels between us and that thing now?" Tejo asked. 2, Hana replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Commander, I've been analyzing all the battle data. The creature isn't just killing our forces, it's learning from every encounter. Each group that attacks it teaches the beast something new about how we fight, how we think, how we can be defeated." She turned to face him, her silver skin pale with fear. The Flame Wardens taught it about direct assault and thermal weapons. The Crystal Singers showed it how psychic attacks work. The combat units demonstrated adaptive technology and artificial intelligence. What does that mean? It means the creature is now more dangerous than when it started. We haven't been fighting it, Commander. We've been training it. As if summoned by her words, the lights flickered again. Somewhere just below them, metal screamed as claws found their way through another barrier. The galaxy's greatest warriors had tried and failed. The most advanced weapons had proven useless. The beast had learned from every defeat and grown stronger. Now, it was coming for the last survivors on Kepler Station, and it knew exactly how they would try to fight. The command center felt smaller now. Only 43 beings remained on Kepler Station, huddled together in the highest level while death climbed toward them from below. Commander Tejo looked at each face around him and tried to memorize them. Soon they would all be gone. "Any ideas?" he asked the group. "Anyone have anything we haven't tried?" Silence stretched through the room like a weight. The galaxy's best warriors had failed. The most advanced technology had proven useless. What could a handful of scared survivors do against a creature that had learned to defeat everything thrown at it? That's when Captain Jinwoo spoke up from the corner. "What about humans?" Everyone turned to look at him. Jinwoo was a freight captain, nothing special by galactic standards. His people were still new to space travel, barely 100 years since their first contact with other species. Most aliens considered humans primitive, cute in their simple ways but not particularly useful. Dr. Hana tilted her head. "I'm sorry, Captain, but what could humans possibly do? You have no advanced weapons, no psychic abilities, no special technology." "Exactly," Jinwoo said. "Maybe that's the point." He stood up and walked to the center of the room. Behind him, his family watched quietly. His wife, Dr. So Young, held their 7-year-old daughter, Ari, in her lap, while their teenage son, Hyun-ki, sat nearby, trying to look brave. "Every force that attacked this creature was more advanced than us," Jinwoo continued. "More powerful, more sophisticated, more everything, and the beast learned from all of them. But maybe it can't learn from something it doesn't understand." Commander Tejo felt desperate enough to listen. "What are you suggesting?" "Let my wife study the battle data. So Young is a behavioral psychologist. She studies how minds work, how creatures think and react. Maybe she can find something the others missed." Dr. Hana looked skeptical. "Captain, I have studied dangerous creatures for decades. I have access to the galaxy's most advanced research. What could your wife possibly see that I cannot?" Dr. So Young stood up, gently placing Ari in her brother's arms. She was small compared to most aliens in the room, with the simple appearance that made other species dismiss humans as harmless. But her eyes were sharp and thoughtful. "Dr. Hana, you study these creatures as predators, as threats to be contained or destroyed. But what if we're wrong about what they really are?" She moved to the main display showing the beast's attack patterns. "May I?" Hana gestured for her to continue. So Young began pulling up data files, her human fingers working quickly across the alien interface. Look at the timing of the attacks. Look at the locations. Look at how the creature responds to different types of confrontation. Images filled the screen. The beast's movements through the station, mapped out in precise detail. Its reaction times to various weapons. The specific ways it had killed different enemies. Everyone sees random violence, So Young said. But I see patterns. Very specific patterns. She highlighted sections of the data. When the Flame Wardens attacked with plasma fire, the creature's response was immediate and brutal. When the Crystal Singers used psychic attacks, it took longer to react, almost like it was confused. When the combat units adapted their weapons, the beast seemed frustrated. What does that mean? Taeho asked. It means this creature isn't just a mindless killer. It's responding to threats the way any intelligent being would, with fear, confusion, and anger. Hana frowned. You're suggesting the Void Stalker is afraid? I'm suggesting it's alone and confused in a place it doesn't understand, surrounded by beings that keep attacking it. How would you react? The room went quiet. Through the floors below them, they could hear the distant sound of metal being torn apart. The beast was getting closer. But even if you're right, Hana said, how does that help us? The creature has killed thousands of people. It won't stop just because we understand its motivations. So Young looked at the data again. Maybe it will. Look at these readings from the psychic attacks. When Crystal Singer Velthera first made mental contact, the creature's aggression levels dropped. For almost 30 seconds, it stopped moving. Entirely, she turned to face the group. I think it was trying to communicate. Communicate? Taeho's voice rose with disbelief. That thing has been murdering people for 3 days. Because every person it meets tries to kill it first, So Young replied calmly. Think about it. The creature wakes up in a strange place, probably confused and scared. The first thing it sees is beings with weapons pointed at it, so it defends itself. Then more beings come with bigger weapons and it defends itself again. Each encounter teaches it that everything in this place wants to hurt it. She gestured at the screen. But when Velthera tried to speak to its mind instead of attacking, it paused. It listened. And when she tried to take control of its thoughts, instead of communicating with them, it fought back. You're saying we should try to talk to it? Hana asked. How? Even if you're right, none of us have the psychic abilities needed to communicate with such a creature. From across the room, little Ari spoke up in her clear child's voice. Why do you need special powers to talk? We're talking right now without any powers. The adults turned to look at the 7-year-old girl. She was small even for a human child, with dark hair and curious eyes that seemed too old for her face. It's not the same thing, sweetheart, her mother said gently. The creature doesn't speak our language, but animals don't speak our language either, Ari replied. And I can talk to animals just fine. You just have to pay attention to what they're really saying. Dr. Hana looked interested despite herself. What do you mean, child? Ari thought. For a moment, the way children do when trying to explain something obvious to adults who don't understand. When a dog is scared, it doesn't matter if it's a human dog or an alien dog. Scared looks the same. When something is angry or sad or lonely, it shows on their face and in how they move. You don't need words to see that. She pointed at the screen showing the creature's attack patterns. The monster isn't being mean because it wants to be mean. It's being mean because it's scared and doesn't know what else to do. The adults exchanged glances. From the mouths of babes, Taeho thought. Even if the child is right, he said carefully, how would we communicate with it? The creature is too dangerous to approach. Maybe we don't approach it, So Young said, slowly. Maybe we let it approach us. That's suicide, Hana protested. Is it? Think about every encounter so far. The beast has only attacked when it felt threatened, when beings came at it with weapons and hostile intentions. What if someone met it without weapons, without fear? What if someone just tried to be friendly? The room erupted in protests, but So Young held up her hand. I know it sounds crazy, but consider the alternative. In an hour, Maybe less. That creature will break through our final defenses and kill everyone here anyway. At least this way, we're trying something different. You want to sacrifice yourself to prove a theory? Taeho asked. I want to save lives, So Young replied. And I think there's a small chance that this could work. The lights flickered again. Closer now. Much closer. Little Ari slipped down from her brother's lap and walked over to her mother. She took So Young's hand in both of hers. Mama, if the monster is scared and lonely, then someone should tell it that it's going to be okay. Her innocent words seemed to echo in the quiet command center. Outside, evacuation ships continued to flee into space. Below them, something massive moved through the darkness, climbing steadily toward the last survivors on Kepler Station. In 1 hour, they would face the galaxy's most feared predator with nothing but a theory and the hope that somewhere inside, that creature of nightmare was something that could understand kindness. It was insane. It was impossible. It was the only chance they had left. The final door exploded inward like paper in a hurricane. Metal screamed and sparks flew as claws the size of swords tore through reinforced steel that should have stopped a battleship. The emergency lights cast wild shadows across the command center as 43 beings pressed themselves against the far walls, trying to become invisible. Through the smoking wreckage stepped the Void Stalker. Up close, it was even more terrifying than the reports had suggested. 12 feet of living nightmare, covered in black armor that seemed to drink light. Its claws gleamed like polished obsidian, each one capable of slicing through bone and metal with equal ease. When it moved, its joints made sounds like grinding stone. But it was the eyes that made everyone freeze in pure terror. They glowed with an inner fire that spoke of intelligence, of hunger, of endless rage built up over 3 days of constant fighting. The creature paused in the doorway, its massive head turning slowly as it examined the beings cowering before it. Its nostrils flared, tasting the fear in the air like wine. Commander Taeho reached for his weapon, his military training overriding his terror. Around the room, others did the same. Security officers raised plasma rifles. Dr. Hana activated a neural disruptor. Even civilian engineers grabbed whatever tools they could use as weapons. The beast's lips pulled back, revealing teeth like broken glass. It had learned to recognize the signs of attack. Every being it had encountered had made these same movements just before trying to kill it. Its claws extended to their full length, ready to tear apart another group of enemies. That's when Ari stepped forward. The 7-year-old girl walked out from behind her brother, her small feet making soft sounds on the metal floor. She wasn't running or screaming like the adults expected. She was just walking, calm and steady, directly toward the creature that had terrorized the entire galaxy. Ari, no! Her mother screamed. Get back! Taeho shouted. Someone grab her! Dr. Hana yelled. But the child kept walking. Her dark eyes were fixed on the monster's glowing ones, and her face showed no fear at all. Just the kind of gentle curiosity that children have when they see something interesting. The Void Stalker's head snapped toward her, its eyes narrowing. This was wrong. This didn't match any pattern it had learned. The small being was approaching, but without weapons, without the smell of aggression, without the tension that came before an attack. Ari stopped about 10 feet away from the creature and tilted her head to one side, studying it the way she might examine a large dog she'd never seen before. You're scared, aren't you? She said in her clear, sweet voice. The words cut through the command center like a bell. Everyone else went silent, frozen between terror and disbelief. The beast itself seemed confused, its massive head tilting in, an almost perfect mirror of the child's movement. It's okay, Ari continued, taking another small step forward. Everyone gets scared sometimes. I get scared too, especially when I don't know where I am. The creature's claws began to retract slowly as if it wasn't quite sure what it was doing. The glow in its eyes shifted from red anger to something that might have been curiosity. Ari, please, her father whispered from across the room. Come, back here. But the little girl wasn't listening to the adults anymore. She was focused entirely on the monster in front of her, speaking in the same gentle tone she used when comforting frightened animals back on Earth. You don't want to hurt people, do you? You're just scared because everyone keeps trying to hurt you first. The Void Stalker made a sound deep in its throat. Not a roar or a growl, but something softer, almost like a whimper. Ari took another step closer. The adults around the room held their breath, certain they were about to watch a child die in the most horrible way possible. My mama says that when you're scared and angry, the best thing to do is take deep breaths and count to 10. Ari said, "Want to try that with me?" She took a slow, exaggerated breath, her small chest rising and falling. 1, 2, 3. To everyone's amazement, the creature's breathing began to match hers. Its massive chest rose and fell in the same rhythm, as if it was actually following her instructions. 4, 5, 6. The red glow in the beast's eyes was fading, replaced by something that looked almost like confusion, or maybe hope. 7, 8, 9, 10. Ari let out her breath. In a long, slow sigh, the creature did the same, and the sound was like wind through caverns instead of the terrible roars they had heard before. "See? That's better," the child said with a smile. "Now, do you want to tell me what's wrong?" The Void Stalker stared down at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, carefully, it lowered itself until its head was level with hers. The movement was deliberate, almost respectful, like a giant bowing before a queen. Dr. So Young realized she was crying. Her daughter, her baby, was having a conversation with the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. And it was working. "You're lonely," Ari said, reaching out one small hand. "That's why you're so sad and angry. You miss your family." The creature's eyes focused on her hand. For a moment, everyone thought it might bite the tiny fingers off. Instead, it lowered its head even further, until the child's palm was resting against the side of its face. The black armor felt warm under her touch, not cold like metal, but alive like skin. The creature's eyes closed, and it made that soft whimpering sound again. "It's okay," Ari whispered, stroking the beast's face like she would pet a cat. "You don't have to be alone anymore. We can be your friends if you want." Around the room, 42 adults stood in shocked silence. Weapons lowered, breathing resumed, hearts started beating again. The galaxy's most feared predator, the creature that had killed thousands and defeated legendary warriors, was being comforted by a 7-year-old human child who had simply asked it to calm down. Commander Tejo found his voice first, though it came out as barely a whisper. "How?" Dr. So Young wiped tears from her eyes. She saw what we couldn't see. Not a monster, but a frightened animal separated from its pack. "But the reports," Dr. Hana said weakly. "The legends. Void Stalkers are supposed to be mindless killing machines. Maybe they become that way when we treat them like mindless killing machines," So Young replied. "Maybe they're something else entirely, when we treat them with kindness." Ari was still petting the creature's face, humming a soft lullaby that her mother had sung to her when she was even smaller. The beast's breathing had become deep and regular, almost like it was falling asleep. "What's your name?" the child asked. The creature made a sound that might have been an attempt at communication, not quite a roar, not quite a purr, but something in between. "I can't understand that," Ari said with a giggle. "How about I call you Shadow? You're big and dark like a shadow, but you're not scary anymore." Shadow. The name seemed to fit. The creature that had been called Void Stalker, Nightmare Monster and Destroyer, now had a simple name given by a child who saw it not as something to fear, but as something to befriend. The beast, Shadow, opened its eyes and looked at Ari with an expression that was almost grateful. Then it did something no one expected. It smiled. Not the terrible grimace they had seen in the battle recordings, but a genuine smile of contentment. Its massive form settled onto the floor. No longer a predator ready to strike, but something that looked remarkably like an oversized pet seeking comfort from its favorite person. "See?" Ari said to the adults around the room. He just needed someone to be nice to him. Commander Tejo looked at his tactical display. For the first time in 3 days, it showed no red warning lights. No alarms were sounding, no emergency. Broadcasts were being sent. The terror of Kepler Station was over, and it had ended not with weapons or technology or military might, but with a little girl who had whispered "calm down" to a creature everyone else had given up for lost. 6 months later, Kepler Station looked completely different. Where once there had been blast marks and torn metal from the creature's rampage, now there were gardens. Real gardens, with plants from dozens of worlds growing under carefully controlled, atmospheric domes. The air smelled of flowers instead of fear. Captain Jinwoo stood on the observation deck, watching his daughter play in the largest garden. Aerie was running between the trees, laughing as Shadow chased after her in what had become their daily game of tag. The massive creature moved carefully, keeping its claws retracted, making sure never to hurt the small human who had become its closest friend. "Hard to believe, isn't it?" Dr. Hana said, joining him at the window. Jinwoo nodded. 6 months ago, that creature was the most feared thing in the galaxy. Now children from 50 different worlds come here just to meet him. Through the transparent dome, they could see other young beings playing with Shadow. A small Cathari child was riding on the creature's back while her parents watched nervously. 2 Zephyrian youngsters were teaching Shadow to play a simple game with colored balls. Even a young crystalline being, its body chiming softly, was attempting to communicate with the beast through gentle psychic touches. All of them were completely safe. "The research data is incredible," Hana continued. "In 6 months, we've learned more about void stalkers than the galaxy had discovered in 1,000 years. She pulled up a holographic display showing brain scans and behavioral analysis. Shadow isn't just intelligent, he's remarkably social. His species evolved as pack hunters, with complex emotional bonds and communication systems we never imagined. Jinwoo studied the data. So what went wrong? Why did they become known as unstoppable killing machines? Because we never gave them a chance to be anything else, Dr. So Young said, approaching with a cup of tea. Every time our species encountered a void stalker, we saw it as a threat first. We attacked first, asked questions never. She gestured toward the garden where Aerie was now teaching Shadow to be gentle with a butterfly that had landed on his claw. But children see differently. They don't have the same prejudices adults do. Aerie saw a scared, lonely creature and responded with kindness instead of violence. And it changed everything, Hana added. Shadow's success here has led to the first Interspecies Behavioral Institute. We're getting requests from all over the galaxy, beings who want to understand dangerous creatures instead of just destroying them. Jinwoo smiled as he watched his daughter. She was showing Shadow how to make flower chains, patiently guiding his massive claws through the delicate work. The creature's face showed intense concentration, determined not to damage the fragile plants. "Any word from the other projects?" So Young asked. Hana's expression brightened. "Excellent news. The crystal serpents of Vega Prime have been successfully integrated into 3 different colonies. Turns out they're not venomous predators. They're healers. Their crystalline secretions can cure diseases that have plagued those worlds for centuries." She called up more data. "The nightmare hunters from the void reaches are actually protective. They bond with settlements and guard them from real threats, and the shadow wolves of Kepler-7 have become the best search and rescue animals in known space. All because someone finally tried talking to them instead of shooting them," Jinwoo observed. "All because humans tried talking to them," Hana corrected. "That's what makes this so remarkable. Every other species in the galaxy approaches unknown creatures with either scientific detachment or military aggression. Only humans seem to have this natural ability to form emotional connections across species barriers." Commander Tejo's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Jinwoo, please report to Landing Bay 7. We have new arrivals." Jinwoo made his way through the station's corridors, noting how different everything felt now. Where once there had been emergency lighting and the constant tension of danger, now there were normal lights and the sounds of children playing. Kepler Station had become a place of learning instead of fear. Landing Bay 7 was crowded with beings from across the galaxy, Scientists, military officers, government officials, and families, all here to witness what many were calling the most important discovery in galactic history. At the center of the crowd stood a group of human children, each between 6 and 12 years old. They had come from Earth and the human colonies, volunteers for the new Beast Whisperer program. "These are our new trainees," Dr. So Young explained to the gathered officials. "Each child has shown natural ability in communicating with animals back on their home worlds." A young boy named Minho raised his hand. "When do we get to meet our partners?" So Young smiled. "Soon. But first, you need to understand something important. These aren't pets or tools. They're intelligent beings who have been misunderstood for a very long time. Your job isn't to tame them, it's to be their friend." Through the bay's large windows, they could see several transport ships approaching. Each one carried a different species of creature that had once been considered too dangerous for civilized space. Crystal serpents, nightmare hunters, shadow, wolves, and even 2 juvenile void stalkers who had been found orphaned on a distant world. "The universe is about to change," Commander Tejo said quietly to Jinwoo. "Your daughter didn't just save this station, she opened a door to a completely different way of thinking about dangerous life forms." Jinwoo watched as the first transport ship docked. Through its transparent cargo hold, he could see a young crystal serpent, its body shimmering with nervous energy. In a few minutes, that creature would meet a human child who would see it not as a monster to be feared, but as a friend to be understood. "The galaxy owes your family a debt it can never repay," Tejo continued. "No," Jinwoo replied, thinking of his daughter's simple words to a terrified creature. "Calm down. The galaxy just needed to remember that kindness is often stronger than force." In the garden visible through the station's central dome, Ari was curled up against Shadow's side, both of them napping in the afternoon sun. The girl's small hand rested on the creature's massive chest, rising and falling with each peaceful breath. Around them, flowers bloomed in soil that had once been soaked with blood. The most feared predator in the galaxy slept like a contented house cat, dreaming whatever dreams come to creatures who have finally found their place in the universe. And across the galaxy, other monsters waited in darkness for someone to whisper the magic words that could transform terror into friendship. "Calm down. It's okay, you're not alone anymore." The age of beast whisperers had begun, and the universe would never be the same. In the end, it hadn't taken advanced weapons or superior technology or military might to solve the galaxy's oldest problem. It had taken a 7-year-old human child who understood something the adults had forgotten. Sometimes the scariest monsters just need someone to be kind to them. And sometimes the smallest voice can speak the most powerful words in any language. "Calm down,"